Hello everyone, please welcome back to my channel. I recently read the book The Bell Jar and I have so many thoughts to talk about and I hope you made your way here alright. I will give a content warning that there are loads of trigger warnings in this book, so before you watch this video, please check out the trigger warnings for this video and I hope you can hear me alright. And if I cough sometimes, please forgive me. I have already tried to film this twice before, and my lungs are not the strongest soldier, so please bear with me if I cough sometimes. So, let's start with the first chapter of the book. Chapter 1. It was a queer, sultry summer. The summer they electrocuted the Rosenbergs, and I didn't know what I was doing in New York. So, Esther Greenwood, our protagonist, she is in New York, as was our author, Sylvia Plath. This is loosely semi-autobiographical novel, so a lot of the characters are real people, but their names are changed in the book. And also our protagonist, her life is a lot similar to Sylvia Plath's life. So here she's talking about how they're treating people in mental hospitals and how it is. As she says, I thought it must be the worst thing in the world. It had nothing to do with me, but I couldn't help wondering what it would be like being burned alive all along your nerves. I thought it must be the worst thing in the world. We don't think about those things, do we? Like what it would be like to burn life along our nerves. Yeah, don't think of those things. And if you are, then help, get help from people and doctors and your family. Okay. I was supposed to be having the time of my life. By saying this, we already know that she isn't, and you will know by the next paragraph. I guess I should have been excited the way most of the other girls were, but I couldn't get myself to react. I felt very still and very empty, the way the eye of a tornado must feel, moving dully along in the middle of the surrounding hullabaloo. And in this paragraph, she's talking about where they are getting like loads of gifts from this sponsorship kind of thing, and now she's like older, and when she's writing this book she has a baby, or she has two babies, and she cut the starfish of the sunglasses case for the baby to play with. So she doesn't really care about these things at all. These girls looked awfully bored to me, and here comes the jealousy among young girls. I talked with one of them, and she was bored with yachts, and bored with flying around in airplanes, and bored with skiing in Switzerland at Christmas, and bored with the men in Brazil. Girls like that make me sick. I'm so jealous I can't speak. It was my first big chance, but here I was, sitting back and letting it run through my fingers like so much water. I think we all have felt or are feeling like this sometimes, which is why I think this book is becoming so much popular, because they're like what we're feeling are like written on the pages of the books. So it's like, are you talking about me? Did you reach through my brain and uh, wrote this book? So I will talk about another character, which is Buddy Willard, and when she talks about men in this book, it's like my favorite thing in the world because she just bashes them, and I love how she does that. Buddy Willard went to Yale, but now that I thought of it, what was wrong with him was that he was stupid. How do you argue with that? I don't know. The laughter shrub warned me. It was a kind of low, know-it-all snicker, but the traffic showed signs of moving again. So they're stuck in traffic, and this guy, disco jockey guy, with his friends, comes up to Esther and her friend Doreen, who is another character, and they're like, "Would you like to go with us?" And they just decides to go. I don't know. To this day, I can't remember what he looked like when he wasn't smiling. She's talking about the guy. I think he must have been smiling the whole time. It must have been natural for him, smiling like that. So you understand that for Esther, it isn't normal for her to be smiling. She is mingling with society and has friends, but she isn't like probably not at all smiling because she has thoughts in her head and not so good ones. Ordering drinks always, sorry, floored me. And here she talks about like how she doesn't know how to order drinks, which I think people don't care about this part because I myself wouldn't know. So I find this very funny. It's amazing how many college boys don't drink or smoke. I seem to know them all. I thought I might make a fool of myself by saying I'd have it with ice or gin or anything. My dream was someday ordering a drink and finding out it tasted wonderful. I think it's everyone's dream. And she gave herself like a wrong name, like Ellie Longbottom. Good job, Esther, giving a wrong name. I said, I come from Chicago. After that, I felt safer. Safer. She is giving the wrong name to the disco jockey guy. I wanted to see as much as I could. Now that explains why she's like going with her friend about with unknown people, like strangers she doesn't hasn't met before in her life. Is that like time is slipping through our fingers and she just is going anywhere and everywhere to feel something and see the world. I liked looking on at other people in crucial situations. If there was a road accident, or a street fight, or a baby pickled in a laboratory jar for me to look at, I'd stop and look so hard I never forgot it. I certainly learned a lot of things I never would have learned otherwise this way, and even when they surprised me or made me sick, I never let on, but pretended that's the way I knew things were all the time. So she isn't reacting to these violent pictures in front of her, which would definitely trigger a lot of people and probably most people. But she's like, I'm going to hit on and look at it dead in the eye and overcome my fears for it. which I don't know what's the purpose of that, but that's her. Now let's go to chapter 2. So she's like third wheeling basically in this chapter, beginning of this chapter, between the disco jockey guy and her friend. My drink was wet and depressing. Each time I took another sip, it tasted more and more like dead water. There is something demoralizing about watching two people get more and more crazy about each other, especially when you are the only extra person in the room. So she's describing how she's feeling when these two people are just doing what they're doing. It's like watching Paris from an express caboose heading in the opposite direction. Every second the city gets smaller and smaller, only you feel it's really you getting smaller and smaller, and lonelier, rushing away from all those lights and that excitement at about a million miles an hour. I was appalled to see how wrinkled and used up I looked. So she is like ran away, basically, ditching her friend with the disco jockey guy, and she just took a long walk, and went to the hotel they were staying at, and she's like drained. I'm sure she looked wonderful, but she feels she isn't. Uh, the reason I say this is because even when we are tired, we are not necessarily the best versions of ourselves. We are not ugly, but I don't think anyone has ever told her that. But that's, yeah, because you need to search a picture of Sylvia Plath and you will know what I'm talking about. This is probably the most relatable thing I've ever read in a book. The silence depressed me. It wasn't the silence of silence, it was my own silence. The next paragraph is how I feel when I go to a city for my exams. I despise it. I despise going to the city for doctor's appointments or exams or going to university or anything at all. Please keep me away, far away from that. But I also love studying, so I would have to be going there. It's a dilemma, but I knew perfectly well the cars were making noise and the people in them, and behind the lit windows of the windows buildings were making a noise, and the river was making a noise, but I couldn't hear a thing. The city hung in my window, flat as a poster, glittering and blinking, but it might just as well not have been there at all, for all the good it did me. And what she's doing when she's feeling sad is deeply connected to how she's feeling as well. Whenever I'm sad, I'm going to die, or so nervous I can't sleep, or in love with somebody I won't be seeing for a week, I slump down just so far, and then I say I'll go take a hot bath. So you see her coping mechanism is taking a bath. Now you'll see when a woman brings her friend back to the hotel room, she's like extremely people pleasing, and she's like wants to run after her and tell her that she has nothing to do with Doreen and she's a good girl, basically. I wanted to run after her and tell her I had nothing to do with Doreen because she looked stern and hardworking and moral as an old style European immigrant and reminded me of my Austrian grandmother. I made a decision about Doreen that night. I decided I would watch her and listen to what she said, but deep down I would have nothing at all to do with her. Deep down I would be loyal to Betsy and her innocent friends. It was Betsy I resembled at heart. Betsy is like the relatively good girl in the book, and she went with the other girls to this magazine place. So that's how she feels. But at the next para, she says, quietly, I stepped back into my room and shut the door. On second thought, I didn't lock it. I couldn't bring myself to do that. That's how far we'll go with the discussion for the bail jar today, because it will be a very long video if I talk about about it completely. But it's not a smiling book. I don't know how to. Anyway, it's just, yeah. Let's do that with this book because I don't have any. This is a very sad book, and I hope that nobody feels how real this book feels. But unfortunately, people do feel this way, and I hope that they seek help and get better. I hope you enjoyed my discussion, and please feel free to comment what you feel about the first two chapters of this book, or if you would like me to continue making these videos about the Biljar or any other book. I have recently finished 100 Years of Solitude, and I would like to talk about that as well because it's a wonderful book as well. And Debarati signing off from Debarati Look Wise. Hope to see you soon. Goodbye.